Hello friends, welcome back to the DeClerc Homestead. Don't mind my kind of groggy voice as I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, but I started working in the garden and I decided I'm going to use those leaves to try to help out my whole fence line maintenance situation. I talked in like day 2 or 3 of this challenge how I get a lot of weeds or really just grasses that are creeping in through my fence line, even though we weed whack really low along the fence. So I decided I would put leaves down in a really thick layer, kind of tucking them under to see if that would help. I'm not sure if it's going to actually keep the weeds from growing or just enrich the soil when the leaves break down, that they grow even stronger. But I figured it's worth a shot. And the other benefit to doing this is that this line of garden bed along this fence is where I'm going to be transplanting a lot of my strawberry plants that I have taking over my current 2 beds. So by really cleaning up this fence line and the interior of this bed, I'm kind of giving myself a clean slate for that step of the process. So now I'm finally on to the strawberry situation. I've got a handful of bigger weeds that I need to pull out of here, but then what's going to have to happen is that one of my rows of strawberries, there's 2 4-foot by about 50-foot rows here. One of them's going to have to come completely out because the landscape fabric that I planted them in was just garbage. It was cheap when I bought it and I knew it and I shouldn't have used it, but I did anyways. And now it's time to accept that reality and get rid of it altogether and replace it with something actually high quality. I also have a lot of runners that have grown just into like the actual pathways, which I need to reclaim and then hopefully get some wood chips down on, because these are the only 2 pathways that I haven't wood chipped in the whole garden space. But that fence line that I just cleaned up, I'm going to transplant some of my runners in as I'm pulling them out. And just like before, I'm using my torch to make holes. The one thing I really love about this landscape fabric is that it has lines on them, so that way it makes it easy to make nice straight rows. But I am just doing them about a foot apart. You could definitely do them closer, but doing them a foot apart allows me to next year have some of the runners be transplanted right next to where these initial plants are going without having to completely take them somewhere else. So just need to go and burn about 200 holes around this entire stretch of fence, and then I can get started with the transplanting. Now, I'm definitely not a strawberry growing expert. I would probably guess this is not the ideal time of year to be transplanting these, but our weather actually looks pretty mild for the next several weeks. So as long as those roots have time to kind of take into their new spot, I really think that they'll be fine. But either way, these aren't costing me anything except for a little bit of time, so I really don't have much to lose. I'm trying to only transplant the runners that are fully green still and not that have turned brown and died off yet. And I am not planning to cover them. I used to always throw straw mulch on my strawberries in the wintertime, and then for a couple winters I just never got around to it, and I didn't notice that it negatively affected my harvest. In fact, I kind of felt like I had better harvests the following year. So I'm just literally throwing these in, and then it'll be survival of the fittest. Whatever takes, whatever doesn't, I know that I will have plenty more runners next year to fill in any gaps if I need to. I think I ended up with about 60 rows, which are 3 holes in each row. So that would be 180 new plants. Now, I probably could have gone 4 plants wide, but I don't know. I didn't want them to creep too easily into my sidewalks or into my walkways here. So I only did 3 wide, but 180 new plants, plus I probably have at least that many, if not double that, in the other 2 rows. That's a pretty good amount. I don't really want to dedicate more in this specific garden plot to strawberries. I've talked about doing a secondary kind of space for strawberries over in the crop garden or even in the orchard garden. So I may just go and plug some of my extra runners in underneath my fruit trees over there even, but either way, there'll be plenty of strawberries to go around. I'm not too worried about not having enough. Well, there you have it. The entire bed is done, and that's another one I can check off of my list. I'm pretty excited about that. I am going to finish this last row for sure, or I should say these 2 rows, this week for sure. There's a lot to be done in the walkway, and then like I said, I've got to tear out that whole kind of bed on the left here with the bad landscape fabric, but it actually kind of looks worse on camera than it does in person, hopefully. Now I gotta go back inside, finish rendering some lard from our pig butchering. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Hope you have a great day.